Welcome to episode 2 of the Israel Defense Podcast. I am your co-host, Israel Karnovich, and we are joined by Instructor X, whose identity is still unknown as of episode 2, and and we are joined by a special guest, Gedalia, and these two make up two members of Unit 7037 based out of Samaria, or some people like to call it the West Bank, whatever floats your boat. So today we have a special topic which is not being talked about so much because Gaza gets a lot of the attention, but that doesn't mean that things aren't happening in the Shomron, in the areas controlled, quote unquote, by the Palestinian Authority. And so we're going to be talking a lot about what Unit 7037 deals with actually on a day-to-day basis, and what are they up against in terms of the terrorists and what weapons they use, what tactics are they using, and what are the threats that they are dealing with today and maybe in the future as well. And that has to do a lot with the geopolitical situation going on here. So, gentlemen, how are you guys doing today? How was the day today? Let's just start off with that, because you guys went on a mission today, or maybe last night, and maybe you can talk about just how did that go? What is your day to day? Recently, give us the fresh news.
Well, lately there has been a slight incline in terrorist hostile activity, but on a daily basis we keep doing pretty much the same activities, which is patrols in villages around here, patrols around the highways of the area, just basically trying to safeguard the population that's living here. Safeguard people who are using the roads, and basically deter hostile activities.
Awesome. Okay, so I want to bring up something that happened actually not too long ago, because we didn't have so much time to talk about it last time, which is as you may remember, 2 weeks ago there was a situation where a terrorist pulled out a weapon. I actually don't know what kind of weapon he used, and he shot one of the guys in 7037 in the head. Shot him in the helmet, I should say. And maybe you could talk a little bit about that situation, because that might be a good introductory into kind of what kind of weapons arsenals that you guys are facing, and what is the threat you guys are facing at the moment. What happened in that situation?
As far as we know, the terrorist that shot during that specific day, he was an ex-officer within the PLA, within the police force of the PLA. And as an ex-officer, he had an access to the PLA arsenal, which includes pistols and M16 rifles that they received for law enforcement and so on and so forth. We do know that they also manufacture their own weapons in illegal factories, which we shut down on a regular basis. We find a lot of homemade weapons. We even found some 3D printed weapons. So that's what we encounter on a daily basis. We have IEDs placed all around us, thrown at us. That's pretty much it.
As compared to the ones maybe that listeners may be more familiar with from Iraq or Syria, are they similar? Are they less explosive? Are they different? Are they kind of more hidden? What is that threat like?
Embedded within the local population, it's going to be a bit harder for them. It's easier for us to get intel, because we are embedded in the population. We're part of it. We're doing daily patrols. We have agencies that their job is to locate and find factories and weapons. So it's a bit easier for us to locate them.
Are you able to share what they look like? What do these IEDs look like? Are they like cell phone controlled? Are they dynamite sticks?
It could be remote controlled, physical switch. Basically, it could be anything. We've seen IEDs made from propane tanks, from beer cans, from different stuff. Obviously, access to explosives is a bit limited here than in Iraq, where you can just unsupervised get whatever you need if you have the funding. Here, it's a little bit, like I said, we have agencies. It's a little bit more supervised, a little bit harder to make, but it's still being made. In fact, if we look at the history of where we are, we have soldiers who were injured and died from IEDs during the raid of control. I think just a few years ago, while we were here, literally 2 days after we took control of the area, we had an IED explode on us. So,
Oh wow! You said that you just mentioned that the terrorists there, and it sounds like when we say terrorists, there's some like kind of gray area because it seems like you're also talking about maybe the local police force, maybe PA military forces, all kind of intertwined somehow. And also, just so everybody knows, since you guys are operating or mostly operating out of Shechem, which has the reputation of the Lions Den, is that unique in maybe the armament that they have? Maybe do they have access to more weapons, being what the Lions Den is? Like, given that it's like, let's call it like, I don't know how else to call it other than Gangsterland, because it seems like they run their own thing out there.
well, Shechem is a large city, and it has a lot of dense population areas, and those dense population areas are very hard to navigate and very easy to basically hide it. So all of the illegal guns and everything that happens usually happens in those areas. However, obviously, because it's a large city, it also happens all around it. So it within to operate within a large city as opposed to a small area which you can basically enclose and control. So yes, for them, access to weapons, hiding weapons is easier than.
Because you just mentioned just a minute ago that they would have harder access to explosives and maybe to some other weaponry than, let's say,
in comparison to Iraq, where it's you can't really monitor what comes in and goes out of Iraq itself through the borders of Iraq. We have a little bit more access all out. So our agencies, our intelligence agencies, have a better understanding of what goes on and a better understanding of the players than I believe than the United States Army had in Iraq. But they still have.
When I look at videos like stock footage of Lions Dens and the marches sometimes that they have, like if they're doing some kind of victory march or something like that, you see a bunch of people out of Shechem, out of maybe the Lions Den area, and they're carrying a bunch of M16s and maybe some M5s possibly, and they look like they have all the same weapons that you have, to be honest, when they make these parades. Is that a realistic assessment that when you go into these areas, you're seeing like dozens of guys like this with M16s? Like,
I'll make it very clear. The gone are the days that the Palestinian resistance, let's call it, or the terrorists, are just using Kalashnikovs and whatever weapon they can get hold of. Yes, they have the manufacturing capability to make their own weapons. Yes, they use Kalashnikovs, but they've now been updated and equipped with the exact same weapons that our special forces have, that our regular units have, including M16s, M4s, with all the scopes and red dot sights. They've got night vision. They are essentially a little army with all the same stuff that we have. The difference is they don't really send those guys out without the appropriate equipment. Whereas we, on the other hand, whether we have the right equipment or not, we still get sent.
You're not painting a pretty picture, basically. I mean, it sounds like, first of all, it's not clear. I mean, are we talking about thousands? How many fighters do they have out of, let's just talk about Shechem, just Shechem, not talking about all the other territories, just talking about Shechem. What kind of threat, based on what you were just saying, are you facing in Shechem? I mean, obviously you're not having gun battles with dozens or hundreds of people on a daily basis, it seems like. But it seems like they have hundreds or maybe even thousands of. Not yet. But it sounds like they probably have. Would it be correct to say that they probably have in the thousands of militants who can pop out at any one time and take you on if they wanted to?
Yeah.
So
Yes.
you're going in there with like anywhere from, I don't.
We're talking. We're about.
Sorry, go ahead.
I'm saying it's not only Nablus; it's all the Arab villages around Nablus and coming up to the Jewish settlement villages as well. They're all harboring weapons. They've all in there. It's greater a problem than Nablus alone.
Okay, so sorry, you guys went out for a little bit, just for a second, but it sounded like you said that it's not just Shechem, it's all the surrounding villages, but right, but Nablus has a population, I don't know, so I think I saw like 60,000-70,000 or something, probably something like that, like a medium-sized city, more or less. So let me understand. You have a situation where you have thousands of militants armed with AKs and M16s and kind of like copied variants, like locally made variants of those guns. And when you guys go in there with your platoon, going in with 20 to 100 guys, how do you guys basically go in there with confidence that 1,000 of these guys won't pop out and try and take you out, and that you're not going to be overpowered with?
We don't. We came here to do a job, safeguard the people around this area, to safeguard my family, to safeguard my friends, to safeguard the guys around me. A job. It doesn't matter. Yes, it is dangerous. It's dangerous for every soldier to be anywhere in the world. At the end of the day, yeah, something might happen, but that's my job. Like, no.
Let me put it this way: what's to keep them from doing something? If there's thousands of them literally in Shechem, and they have it sounds like they're well armed, maybe even better armed than you guys potentially, through illegal and local manufacturing. What would keep them from doing that? Why not? What would keep them from going crazy and just initiating some huge attack?
Okay, so to answer that question, the fact that we do patrols in those dangerous places and don't show any fear, as well as the fact that yes, we might not have the same or the appropriate equipment at the moment, but we definitely have the skill and the strength and the determination to show them that we're not going to back down and we're not going to let them take over.
And at the end of the day, we are a peacekeeping force. We're here to, like I said, serve the population around us. We're not here to wage war. So right now, we're doing patrols to safeguard. We're looking at the situation inside the villages. We're seeing all of the propaganda on the walls. We see all of that. We stop people. We check weapons. We check IDs to make sure who those people are. We've captured people from Gaza within Shechem. So, like I said, we are a peacekeeping force. Our whole being here to make sure that we're not in a war state right now here. Well, I mean, we are in a war, but our objective not to conquer right now.
Okay, so because obviously they are aware that there's tension in the north and that there's a ongoing war with Hamas. How has that affected the threat to you and to the local Jewish communities there, as well as how has it changed their behavior, if at all?
It has. The change in their behavior is a little more confident to start doing more little but targeted attacks. We're doing these attacks just to check our state of awareness, state of readiness, state of ability, or ability to respond. And at the same time, the more things up in Lebanon, the more they feel they get the confidence to attack us, because they can see that if the Lebanese were to attack us, to be precise, already, then that would give them a lot of backup for what they want to do. Now, we don't know whether or not that's ever going to happen.
No country wants a war on two fronts. So obviously, if there's another front in this conflict that develops, they get the confidence to act on their own.
Do you think, assuming that since things are heated right now because of the situation in Gaza and because of the situation in the north as well, if the north gets heated, it sounds like you're saying that they're just waiting, that they're kind of like, yeah, maybe they're testing you a bit with, like you said, they're seeing what your response will be, seeing how ready you are. And so they might have small attacks. It sounds like, though, that they're really waiting for something big to happen before they try anything. Am I correct in my assessment?
I believe that they are waiting to be organized. By organized, not only just the people here. I mean, the people in Gaza, in here, and in Lebanon, and who wants to join this conflict. Unless they're organized together, they're probably not going to do anything alone.
All right, so I think that's an important part, because you're saying that they're keeping you on your feet, let's say. So they might operate in small teams of, I don't know, 1 to 3 or 4 or 5, correct? Is that my understanding? Is like
we can be 20, 25. It's still a small team considered to the personnel that they have.
Is that what you see out there in Shechem? Is like they're most times, if there's a gun battle, that there's probably operating in groups of 1 to 5, something like this.
There is a group of 1 to 5, but it could be several groups. It's not just only one.
Could be more. Okay, but ultimately, it sounds like they are coordinating. They are waiting before, like they're preparing, so that, and this is really the real threat that you guys face. It sounds like, which is they are waiting to be coordinated by another party.
It's more a strategic choice. For example, they're always preparing. They're always getting something ready to enact against us. However, the way that we need to look at it is the same way as you see a tsunami far in the distance. Right now, it's all calm and quiet. But that little wave that in the distance looks totally innocent, which a lot of the things that are going on right now look totally innocent, the movement of how they're doing, what they're doing. However, you don't know when they're going through the checkpoint. Are they transporting bombs? Are they transporting guns? Are they transporting ammunition? We don't know, because we can't check every single one. So,
are you finding that it seems like to me that there's a lot of things, a lot of weapons that get smuggled over the border with Jordan?
Internally. It's not just coming from external sources, it's also moving.
Movement and manufacture internally. So
internally.
You have Jenin, you have Shechem. So if there's an explosive factory in Jenin, they move it to Shechem. They move it all around the villages. They move it all around the area.
Yeah, not just the major cities. There's all these little villages which seem harmless, that are part of a massive network which connects all the cities together, all the Islamic Jihad and all the terror groups all together. It's much more in depth than it might otherwise appear.
So ultimately, you're saying they don't even need the smuggling from Jordan. Not saying that's not happening, but their local capabilities to manufacture are sufficient.
Yes, and that's why our job is so much more important.
And do you think that local production has increased since the war in Gaza, potentially?
I would say that it's constantly increasing. Same as Gaza. It constantly had an arms race, and it collected weapons, RPGs, bombs, missiles. They tore off.
You think that is also?
I know that PLA has RPGs for internal use. How much access do the terrorists have to these specific weapons, which are meant for the PLA to safeguard themselves? I can't say. Not going to speculate on that, but at the end of the day,
Maybe we can we'll wrap this up soon because I think a lot of us are have been informed quite a bit. But I think what you just said is maybe a good final note to end this along, and we'll talk about maybe the needs of your unit as well, because it seems like you have a few different factions and a few different entities going on, and it's not always clear, especially to maybe whether it's somebody looking at this from America or even within Israel, what is the overlap of the PA and these militant groups and the Lions Den, or maybe individuals? I don't know if it's individuals acting out of their own merits, I guess, but how does this overlap work? Because we know that the PA has an army of 40,000 soldiers. We know this is a PA operated, this is a PA governed city, correct? And so they have their own PA police force. They have their own PA army. I don't know where that army sits around, but how do these entities all work together, and how does it affect you?
You need to understand that the local population is not happy with the situation it is right now. I'm talking to you about population, not government standpoint or anything. Now, the Palestinian Authority is there to make sure that the interests of the Palestinian people who are living there are taken into account, and it's great. However, those people are still not happy. There are restrictions on movement, obviously, into the Israeli area. A lot of them work within the Israeli area, which requires to have permits, same as any other border of any other country. And they're not happy with that. So a lot of people, when given the chance by another organization to take up arms or to improve their family situation by being a member of that said organization, a terror organization or whatever, a resistance, they will do it. You don't necessarily know who is and who isn't, and just because this guy is Palestinian Authority, then that means that it's okay because he's not a terrorist. Like we saw in the story I just told you about, an ex-officer within the Palestinian Authority police shooting an Israeli soldier in the head and allowed to save his life. This is what we're fighting for. This is guerrilla warfare, and it's on a daily basis.
Palestinian Authority is waiting for some kind of large operation by Hezbollah, or waiting for a command from Hezbollah to acting on by themselves, or you wouldn't expect for the Palestinian Authority army or security to ever operate against you? Not talking about isolated incidents. I'm talking about more of almost like a rebellion.
So, in my opinion, the Palestinian Authority will do what it considers within its best interest, and if in that moment it considers that joining the war on the opposite side of Israel is in its best interest, then it will do that. That's what I believe.
X, is there anything you want to add to that idea regarding the Palestinian Authority?
The Palestinian Authority is the whole undercover network that is built up around the West Bank, which you could call it sleeper cells, which are also part of this network, which are completely dormant at the moment, which at any time can be activated. And if they get the confidence from a Lebanese front, where the Hezbollah is showing some good advancements against the north, they will have the confidence to rise up and start causing another 7th of October type of situation in the West Bank. But the difference will be that the army is already here, and therefore it's going to be it would be a massive fight. So the fight against the north and a massive fight in the West Bank.
So it sounds like there's literally a powder keg out there right now, and somebody. It's not clear if somebody's playing with the matches yet, but there's a powder keg.
Right, that's what the world is. We see it here. We have a lot of more and more violence. There is somebody played with the matches on the 7th of October. Somebody's playing in Hezbollah in the north. There are interested parties that are trying to just make this conflict as larger as possible. We know who those parties are. It's not a secret. Everybody
Right,
knows
so-
who funds it. Everybody knows where it's coming from, where the weapons are coming from.
Okay, so given it sounds so either way, regardless, it sounds that what we learned today is that there's no shortage of threats against you guys out there. All right, so I think that's a good segue. Maybe you could tell the people listening, what can they do? You know, what can they do locally? Maybe if somebody lives, maybe not so far away or in the local area, and what kind of needs do you guys need?
Well,
And what
we
can
are
people-
absolutely, I wouldn't say desperate, but we're in severely urgent need to get the appropriate sites, red dot sites or a variety of sites on our weapons in order that we can get fast acquisition of target. Second, not hitting the wrong target. We don't want to be wasting bullets shooting, unfortunately, innocent people or bystanders or even our own friends. We want those bullets to hit the terrorists and only them. But to do that, we have to have the most accurate capability to do so. And when you're very tired from a big fight to the location that you the arrest, and you haven't got the same energy as you had when you're just sitting around, it is absolutely vital and fundamental that you have a red dot site which assists your ability to acquire a site without having to get yourself into a position through the iron site, which is very slow, even when you have energy.
So nighttime operations, that's helped a lot more than the iron side.
Essentially, the iron sites are pretty useless in the functionality that we're using our guns for. And with a gun without a red dot sight or any form of sight is the most dangerous thing a soldier can do in any of our activities that we're doing. And this is what we're forced to do because we just don't have it.
Just on that note, I think a lot of people feel like, okay, a lot of people from America donated, a lot of people from Canada donated money to Army, especially at the onset of October 7th and the weeks after, and they feel like, okay, all this money has come to Israel and to outfit soldiers, and now everybody's outfitted. And then maybe you guys can just clarify to people that's not really how it works, in the sense that there's always new soldiers coming in, and then those guys need to be outfitted as well, correct?
We have an influx of new soldiers.
That's the point. So the fact that there wasn't donations that were given out over the war for the last 5 months is fantastic. However, the fact that war is dragging on longer and longer and longer, and the more and more reservists are having to be retained, even those donations is not enough to provide for the ones that are coming lately. So the soldiers that received the previous donations have gone off duty. They then might go to another unit. They have their relevant sites and equipment. But the ones that come in later, they are left with nothing. And that's why our donation request has become extremely urgent.
Just for anybody watching, I want you to look either in the description or you can look on the screen. If you guys go to link.citizensdefenseisrael.org/unit7037, we have a campaign set up. It's ongoing. People are donating to it. And the idea is to get these guys sites and the best possible plates and armor that we can get them, as well as vests and a number of other equipment. We're looking at equipping at least 15 soldiers fully, and then moving on from there. And so I really encourage you, based on what X and Gedalia, X and G just said, you guys heard the threats. I'm even learning more about the threats myself, so I appreciate you guys coming on here and sharing, a little bit more about what you guys are going through. And be sensitive to the fact that this thing is a powder keg that can explode anywhere. And as Instructor X mentioned, those iron sights are really ineffective, especially at night. How effective would you say they are during the day?
Just as ineffective. It makes no difference. The fact is, these missions that we're going on are extremely high intensity. They take a lot out of you. The energy levels are very low when you get to the point where you need to be. And using an iron sight when you haven't got much energy and they're in a dangerous place, it is a very difficult to do.
Okay, right. So, guys, again, I just want you to take a look at that. Obviously, we want to thank you guys for your sacrifice and for your time. And, obviously, most of us are not in, guarding communities in the Shomron and keeping the peace. So a lot of respect and props to you. And I really encourage everybody, even if you can just give $5 or 10 shekels, it's better to give 10 shekels and say, okay, I'll give up this cup of coffee. And if 10,000 people do that, then we could really make a big move to help outfit these guys and get them the equipment that they need. So whether it's 10 shekels or 10,000 shekels, everything is appreciated. I know you guys appreciate it. I've already spoken to a number of your team that the gear is much appreciated. Is there any final thoughts you guys want to share? Maybe that didn't come out. Maybe something that people wouldn't be so much aware of. So people will think, right, that there's Miluim, that there's fathers, that there's these guys are called up by the army and they got to go do their service for a few months. And is there maybe something that people are just not aware of that you guys are going through, or that they should be aware of that isn't common?
Look, me personally, myself, I live abroad. My wife is not from Israel, and I came back for this war. And she hasn't seen me for the past 5 months. I've been here. I think that any little help that we can get to end this conflict faster, anything that we can do to make sure our boys are safe, I think that if anybody can help with that, I thank them from the bottom of my heart. And
yes, also the fact that the difference between a soldier with a sight and without a sight is the difference between death. In the environment that we are operating, that is reality. So we do appreciate every step that comes in to allow us to be able to missing those sites, so that we can ensure the safety as much as possible to be provided to the soldiers.
Yeah. Gedalia, are we allowed to ask where you came from? Where were you before you came?
I'd rather not say. It's just outside of Israel.
Okay. Well, we know that you came out of Israel to help support, and that's huge respect to you as always, Professor X. So again, go to the link in the description. Check out link.citizensdefenseisrael.org/unit 7037. We are going to and if you absolutely can't donate, just share. Just take this link and share it with your friends. I'm sure somebody is gonna be able to give a little bit. Every like Instructor X said, every cent counts and it is appreciated. So, thank you guys so much. We're gonna look forward to the next podcast episode, and it's going to be a good one. So you want to tune in. So thank you guys so much and be safe. Blessings to you guys.